Right, so on the Marketing99Percent podcast, and do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Laura, and I own an agency called Jellybean in Birmingham. I've been in SEO for nearly 10 years, so you can probably start to guess my age from that one. And we are actually a fully remote agency, which is something that I think a lot more people are kind of coming into the idea of doing now with their agencies.
Wow. Is most of your team in the UK, or is it all around the world, or?
All in the UK, and weirdly, we're all in the West Midlands, which has
really?
just been by fluke. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're 75% female as well at the moment, which again has just been by fluke. But when I knew that it came to the time that we wanted to hire some people in, Becca I'd worked with before, and we'd known each other for years. Weirdly, we'd interviewed at an old job, like I'd interviewed her at an old job I was in, and we kept in contact ever since. So that was how that came to happen. And then Amy, we met together a few months ago, and I was looking for somebody, and she was just the perfect fit from an SEO point of view. And then Chris, I've known for a while, and we've worked together before. So here's our resident male.
And so I ask all guests, if you were to host TED Talk on any marketing subject or matter right now, what would it be titled, and what's your key message? And yours was PR and how it doesn't have to cost a fortune. So let's start with that. How would you introduce this to a new client or a new business or anybody working with you?
I think there's a lot of fear with PR, and I think people still view PR as being purely traditional PR, and traditional PR is brilliant, and we actually do a chunk of traditional PR in the work that we do, but we combine it with online PR, and that's where you can start building some really, really interesting campaigns, and the cost of them is next to nothing. Actually, in some instances, it's literally the management fee you're paying to the agency is the only fee that's involved in it. And from doing the online PR, you're not only getting coverage and brand awareness, you're earning links, which can help your SEO and build that, increase rankings, build traffic from an organic standpoint. You can track the traffic through referral in your Google Analytics for any of the coverage that you get. And it can also impact your social channels. You can use the audience you're driving in from PR as retargeting channels on PPC too. So it's a facet that I think has long before just been seen as, send a press release to a newspaper and get a few inches in a column. It's so much bigger than that now, and it feeds into every marketing channel that you're using.
Definitely. And I think from what I've seen with PR in the past, that when you're kind of an SEO guy or woman, that you kind of work together, but they don't get your bit and you kind of don't get their bit. And that's what I think is interesting about your agency, and probably why we've worked together in the past. So do you think it's essential now that all kind of PR people know SEO and they mix that all together?
Yeah, I think there's still silos to some extent. SEO can often be very numbers driven. It's quite mathematical brain, particularly when you start looking down the technical route of SEO and the optimization, whereas PR still very much needs that creative relationships brain. I don't think there's that many people that do both successfully, because it is two different traits. And it's two different hats that you have to wear. But definitely the teams more and more now are knowing they're working together a lot closer. And, the PR guys, the SEOs are working together to go, okay, what are we trying to improve? So, it could be, we want to improve laptops. Okay, let's do a PR campaign around laptops, because we know then we can impact the laptops ranking, which is going to help the SEO side. And the SEO side are then tracking the traffic from it, possibly even doing the link reclaims for any coverage that didn't get the links in as well. So much more synergy. And I love it when you meet somebody that does the two together, because just that mindset flick that they have to have is amazing.
Yeah, 100%. So let's talk some tactics. I've seen some talks you've been in before, so I think it'd be good for everyone to hear some of your favourite tactics that you kind of employ.
So from a free perspective, because I don't like spending money, who does?
Yeah.
There's loads of little ones that you can do that can get you some quick fire and without costing a penny links. So if you use Twitter, monitor the hashtag journo request. Every day you'll see journalists and also PRs and even bloggers will be putting on requests for things that they're looking for. It's usually an industry comment or an industry quote on a topic. If you do have budget, there are tools like Response Source that will email all this to your inbox, and it will it has a lot more requests than just looking on the hashtag. But quite often you find that journalists will put it on Response Source and on the hashtag, so you can get both from it.
Yeah.
We've got coverage in like the Telegraph, Independent, HuffPost, just from answering journal requests for people. The only thing I would say is downside on it is that you do need to be quick. You know, you have to have that speed of response. You can't be answering them 3 days later. It's got to be in the first couple of hours to get that coverage. There's also just searching for your own brand name. There's probably been cases where you've received coverage and you don't realise in the past. If you find that coverage where somebody's mentioned you and hasn't linked back or credit, you can ask them for the credit in return. Same if people have used your imagery or your logo anywhere and haven't credited you for it. There's some really quick fire ways to get it. From a wider scale campaign, you know, PR campaigns can be applied to the smallest of businesses.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a big PRC or anybody to do one. Like, we run PR for ourselves as well as our own business. And a campaign we started months ago, we actually got coverage for because of COVID. And it was a campaign we'd run about how people are using their phones on the toilet, which is quite an obscure one, but we ran a survey to get this data. And for full disclosure, the cost of that survey was about £550. So we ran the survey. We had 1,000 respondents in the UK answer the questions that we'd picked out. So we wanted to know, you know, how many people use their phone when they're on the low? What are you doing with it? Like, are you on Tinder? Are you taking selfies? Are you answering text messages? And we got that data split by gender, by location, even by device people were using. So we could say that Apple iPhone owners are much more likely to drop their phone in the loo than Android users. So you have multiple SKUs coming from this £500 piece of data. So this data that we'd ran, we actually found that the Metro initially were looking for some quotes about the dangers that bathrooms had to coronavirus and how, you know, dirt in bathrooms. So we just went, we've actually got a stat here that says over half of us use our phones on the loo that could support your article. And they used it, and then it got syndicated into the Star, the Mirror, and loads of local press. So it was, you know, the £500 survey that we paid for ended up getting us like 30 odd links. And
That's
if you
great ROI, isn't it, really?
Exactly, you do the maths on a cost per link from that, and the value of what you've got and the quality of those links massively outweighs that £500 cost. And on average, most surveys are probably between 400 to 800, depending on number of questions you ask and number of respondents. That's what we averagely pay. So, you know, we're talking data that you can get for less than 4 figures that can be used over and over again. And you can probably get 4 or 5 different releases from it. So that's where the cost can really come down on it. But another method that I like to use, which is much longer time period, is you can send a freedom of information request to local council departments. You can talk to universities, you can talk to police, NHS, libraries, museums, whatever department in the local council you want as well. And you can ask them for a really specific piece of information that you want. And they have 28 working days, I believe it is, to get back to you. Some of them get back much before then. But that way, if you ask every local council in the country or the specific ones you want the data from, you can create your own map of specific pieces of information. You know, it could be the number of admissions to care homes in each council. It could be the number of cycle paths that have been built by each council in the last few years. But that data is yours then, and you can use that to create a release from it, and it hasn't cost you anything for the data. It's just your time in collating it and then making whatever asset you want that comes from it. It just, I think people can often get blindsided that PR is a big stunt or a big publicity stunt that's going to cost thousands and thousands of pounds, and it really doesn't need to be. Journalists like things that are clickbaity. They want things that are going to increase readership and increase their time on site, because that's one of their KPIs. So if you do have video or any asset that they can embed on the site really well.
I was going to ask about assets. So you can get some amazing data from these tactics, and so once you've got the data at your agency, do you also kind of start bringing in other channels like brand and design to start like visualizing these and making them look beautiful and kind of making representations of that data? Or I'm guessing sometimes the data is just good enough in its own kind of on its own. But do you provide that together as well?
Yeah, definitely. And you're right. It depends what the data is. Sometimes the statistics you've got is all you need, and you can just put that in a really nice email to the right journalist, which is probably the most important thing, hitting the correct journalist for the publication. Don't send it to a news desk to try and find the person. But other times you do want, if you a quiz, for instance, you'll want to build an embeddable quiz for some kinds of information you're running, or you might want to do an interactive map. There's quite a few tools online that you can pay for from a design point of view. A lot of people use Canva for a lot of their design work, and it's quick and easy, but produces really high quality stuff. Maps, there's a few tools and visualization tools you can find online that will help you to just pull something together. But if you're doing like a campaign about the most liked on Instagram of X, so I've seen ones where it's been like, these are the most liked bathrooms in the world from Instagram. Your data is the number of likes on Instagram, and your assets the Instagram post. So that's all you need for it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And I think you mentioned one of the kind of measurements in there is in backlinks, but I think the kind of age-old PR thing is we can't measure. But what other ways of measurement are you kind of employing at the moment?
We use Google Analytics data first and foremost. We'll look at the referral traffic from any of the places that have covered our piece. We'll also look at direct and organic traffic too, because if you've got coverage on a lot of nationals, your brand awareness is increasing, so that could impact direct. And then from an organic standpoint, if you've increased rankings to a particular area on the site, you can then narrow down and go, okay, the laptops landing page, for instance, how has organic increased to that? We know we've had an impact in that. Backlinks is also, it's a measurement that a lot of clients ask for as well. That they want to see what links have been gained from it. You can also look at social mentions and how sentiment on socials increased or changed from the coverage that you've received. But the most important thing is revenue. What have you driven from it? Can it mapping back how sales have increased, or if it's a specific product you're using for the PR campaign, has it sold out?
I think you give an example before of one you did with a ring where you said this is the replica ring. I thought that was a story. Did that ring sell out straight away? Did it? Or
well, weirdly, it was a ring that they make their rings to order anyway. The jewelers did. So they had a lot of trilogy rings, and it was just that we put a product page up that looked exactly like Meghan Markle's ring, so that you could make it to order then and have the princess ring or whatever you wanted to call it. But that doing a product is a really cool quick win if you can. If you are working with a client or you're a brand that has the ability to have the product in house, then it makes it it's a lot easier to then build a page and have 50 available or something. So one that is really good that has been done recently is Rose at 7 did the tinner for game, where it was, I think it was like the Christmas dinner in a tin for gamers, and they did a vegan version of it as well. And they actually made the product, and they had so many available in each store that could be bought, and it did sell out. So like there's some really cool ways you can do with it, and that's obviously a much bigger campaign from a cost perspective. But there's loads of really cool things you can do. Like we've been talking with brands about, you know, putting together collections of boxes of products that might keep people entertained while they're on lockdown and things like that. So it's already stock that they have. It's just repurposing it in a new way.
Awesome. So on to some quick fire questions. Sent over a few of these beforehand. So what brands are inspiring you right now, and what are they doing right?
From a PR standpoint, I always think IKEA are fantastic at jumping on things really quickly and doing some really fun campaigns. I also think Netflix are one of the best. Like, they always bring social into it really well. But I think from an industry point of view, Rose at 7 are one of the best for PR and seeing the stunts that they're doing.
Check them out.
They're such cool. They're lovely guys as well. Like Carrie and Steer are awesome. And then there's other brands like JBH are really good from a PR perspective. Aria are really good. And what's wonderful is that there's a really nice community on Twitter where people in the industry do share the campaigns they've been running, which have worked and also which haven't. So everybody kind of supports it and works together on it, which is nice.
Awesome. What tools and software should every marketer be using there in this field particularly?
You need a good media contact list tool. So we personally use Gorkana, but I know there's others out there, and we also use BuzzStream for the actual outreach of it. So Gorkana's fab for pulling together, finding the right journalist that we want to contact, and then BuzzStream you can set up really nice, almost like email cycles within it for your outreach. You can see all your open rates, your response rates. You can A/B test your subject lines as well. So it's a slightly more evolved way than just sending it via your Gmail or whatever.
That is hard. I've done the old sending out 50 to 60 emails of outreach and having no responses, which is quite a lot of kind of time versus return.
It's really depressing.
It's
hugely depressing. But with BuzzStream, you can have it all set up so that you've almost got your, put the first name in this field. So instead of having to copy and paste the email 60 times, you're doing it once, and then you can fly it out to multiples. But if you don't have budget, I definitely recommend just using Twitter a lot for it too, because I follow a lot of journalists on Twitter, and they quite often put their emails out. A lot of them have them in their bio, or if not, when they're asking for quotes or PR or any kind of comment from somebody, they're giving their email address. So I've just got a really basic Google Doc that I've just listed off all different email addresses that we've picked up from Twitter, so that we know, so-and-so writes for entertainment at the Metro, and we know that's up to date, and we can just hit that person when we need. So definitely it can be quite manual at times, but it's a really important part. Make sure you hit the right person.
Great. Where would you point kind of marketers? Obviously, your website is full of resources and things like that, but is there any books, podcasts, courses, blogs that people should be kind of hanging around to learn more about PR and SEO and things like that?
Paddy Mugan's just put his link building book online for free now as a PDF, and that was one of the first books I read when I started doing outreach, and the information in there is just massively invaluable. So we definitely recommend people look at that one.
What's it? Mugan, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check that one out.
It's just called the link building book. There's also there's lots of really nice Twitter channels and newsletters in PR and SEO. So Alida has her Monday newsletter, and I think it's called SEO FOMO. I think it's called. I'll just double check. And that comes out every week, and she kind of just collates all the really cool news in SEO that's going. Yeah, it's called SEO FOMO. And that's her newsletter. There's also like Digital PR Examples is a really good Twitter account that will just retweet anything that's awesome in PR that people are sharing. I think what else? Yeah, there's a few there. Course wise, I think Blue Array have just put all their courses for free online for SEO, if I remember rightly. But there's loads of really cool SEO courses online now that people are running. The colouring in department.
There seems to be a lot of content coming out right now during lockdown, because obviously people are consuming it, I suppose.
Massive amounts. The colouring in department have a really good Google Analytics one as well. That's probably one of the best analytics ones I've seen. And Jill's done quite a few talks about analytics too. But I think just look at SlideShare and look at the slides people have done from previous events is a good point, because then you'll end up finding speakers that you really like what they're doing, and you can start kind of cyber stalking them around to see what else they've done. But yeah, so you've got Brighton SEO. There's tons of slide decks from that. Search Leads, Search Love, SMX. There's also, they're probably the main SEO events that I'll have the decks for online. But yeah, just have a look around.
Fantastic. Where should kind of marketers be spending 80% of their time to get the most results in this field?
I think the time should be spent in finding the right contacts.
Okay. Yeah.
Making sure you're hitting the right people, because if you can get your piece on one of the kind of top tier nationals, often it will snowball.
Yeah.
So finding the right person to hit at that top tier, it's going to yield so much more results than hitting 200 people sometimes. So I definitely think it's worth putting the time in, and finding them. Like, we've even before I've cyber stalked journalists that we wanted to get coverage from. I've sent them jelly beans with like personalized letters in there as well. I found out that, well, it's very easy to find out on social, but so and so had a dog, so I sent some dog treats as well and things. So it's building that relationship so that you're not just a name on an email to them. They know that, oh yeah, that's Laura, she works with so and so. Cool, we'll cover that.
Yeah. And do you call them personally sometimes if you can find a number?
Yeah, it's a little bit harder at the moment because nobody's in an office. People's details, and it's same with like sending things to people. We haven't been able to do that at the moment because people are at home. But ringing people up helps, and I usually will be like, we've got this information, I'm going to ping it over to you now, and try and send it to them while I'm on the phone to them, so that it's almost hits the top of the email and you can talk it through. I found that works a little bit better with the regional papers, because they do tend to be contracted in an office together than a lot of the nationals or purely online, because they tend to be more contract and freelancers, so they're not always sitting in an office together.
Great. And a fun question: if you can have an ad anywhere in the world with any message on, where would it be and what would it say?
Probably a little bit soppy, but I love dogs and I love animals, and I think it would be awesome to have ads by around places that shelters are, that are almost like dating profiles for the dogs that are up for adoption, that people can then say, come and adopt Billy. This is beautiful Staffy, and that could help to increase the adoption rates. Like, I've donated loads of stuff to Birmingham Dogs Home before, so it'd be awesome to see more of their pups getting adopted into nice little homes.
Awesome. And a little shout out to Fetch Your Dog, which is a charity I've worked with before. they rehome dogs in Bosnia. So that's a nice little charity I've worked with. And the final question, what will make you excellent in a single sentence in PR?
I think just being a little bit wacky, and not being afraid to throw an idea out to somebody that isn't like directly on brand and is a little bit outside of the norm to them, because those are the things that are more likely to get picked up. It needs to have emotion. It needs to resonate with people. It can't always just be about, you know, what that brand's selling or what they're doing. So I think just having that little bit of an outside the box ideas. Like I literally have a whiteboard in my office, and when I think of something, I just jot it down. It might not apply to anybody we're working with at the moment, but it's like a bank of ideas that we've got there for
wacky whiteboard ideas list.
yeah, I'm looking at it now and I'm like, yeah, there's some strange ones on there. At the moment, I've just got Tiger King in big letters on there.
Very relevant right now.
Yeah, anything Tiger King will do really well. So that's what I've just got written on there.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks very much, Laura. Where can people find you if they want to learn more, and where should people head to if they want to kind of your expertise? I'm on Twitter at LauraLouise90, and then our website is just jellybeanagency.co.uk. We're getting a new site shortly, so look out for that. I'll let everybody know when that's ready. Perfect. All right. Thank you very much, Laura.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.